What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Scene Invaders podcast channel. If you listen to the podcast, you will hear that Coach Dave, if you're nasty,
If I'm nasty.
if you're nasty.
Well, I can be nasty, so yeah,
Okay,
can't be, so I can just be Coach Dave to myself sometimes.
You're too pure for that. You're too pure. But the other night on the podcast, we were talking about what we watched this week, and both he and I saw the new film from director Mike Flanagan, The Life of Chuck.
Mhm.
And it's one of those movies that we wanted to say go see it and wanted to talk about so badly, but did not want to spoil for anyone, because I went into this knowing literally nothing about it other than Mike Flanagan,
Yep.
Stephen King, non-horror. And I mean, that was enough for me. And I think going in that way really enhanced my experience. So
100%.
if you have seen this movie, what I'm going to say is we're going to spoil the fuck out of this movie. So
Yes.
if you've seen it, stay. Or if you don't care that there are spoilers, you're also welcome here. But yeah, we're definitely going to dive deep into this movie. And this follows, it doesn't even really necessarily follow Chuck Krantz. This movie opens up with the end of the world is imminent, essentially, right?
Yeah, there's these little things of like, well, like TVs won't work, the internet is spotty at best, and just kind of general things are kind of crumbling, and it's what do you do with yourselves? You know, like our main character at the beginning of it is a teacher.
Yeah,
And
she would
it's
tell
like,
Ejiofor.
yeah, and how do you teach kids if there is no real tomorrow or there is no next week? Like, what exactly do you teach them?
Yeah, and you see through this that people become so dependent on the internet for things that, like, you even have parents that are meeting with him questioning how can you even like keep track of all of this right now, because like the internet again is not working. You're seeing that California is slowly dropping off into the ocean.
Yeah. And that is it's a great little storytelling device of the different parents coming in.
Yeah, I love
and
it.
Also a great way for the there are a ton of Flanagan repeaters in this, repeat performances where you can see where he has picked actors from his previous works. And the parent teacher conferences were not only entertaining, but also really did a decent job of kind of putting a little bit of dread into you and trying to just basically overall set the tone of all the characters.
Yeah, and this, what it does is sets up this incredibly mysterious element. Like I said, it's pretty straightforward that it looks like you're kind of dealing with maybe like the end days from a basic sense, not the end days from like a biblical sense necessarily, but you can tell things are like slowing down, winding down, and everyone seems to have a sense of this. And it does add this like air of mystery to things, because it is like, what is going on? And it provokes all of these conversations among like the teacher character and like an ex-girlfriend and all of these interesting conversations that you would really have with other people if you did feel like the end of the world was imminent. And suddenly throughout all of this billboard shows up that's like, let's celebrate Chuck 39 years.
Thanks, Chuck.
Yeah, thanks, Chuck. And everyone's like, what is this billboard? Who is Chuck? What's this about? And they initially assume that he's someone who worked for the bank, because this is a billboard on top of the bank. And they're like, wow, this must have been a hell of an employee. But then this imagery starts showing up everywhere. Like, there's still broadcast television left through some of this. But as you see that start to go out one night while he's watching TV, you'll see these like break-ins of this. And that's the imagery you see, like the movie's getting broken into with like the thanks Chuck imagery and all that. And you're like, me as a viewer, especially not knowing what any of this was about, was like, what the hell is going on here? Like, what is happening?
Yeah, you even have a skywriter like writing it in the sky. It's baffling. And they set up such a good mystery of it. And I'm trying to remember when the narrator kicks in.
I don't know if the narrator was ever in the first part of it. And this is told in three parts. Part 3 is so it's told backwards. Part 3 is the first part, part 2, part 1. And there is a narrator here. And sometimes I find that kind of annoying or cloying in a way in a movie. But here it really worked for me. I thought it was funny and informative, and I thought it was a nice way to tell this story, honestly.
Yeah, normally that can be like almost a crutch for writers of like, well, we have this narrator and he just kind of fills in all the holes, but there was almost a level of humor to it, and it almost helped with the mystery.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is where I think the Stephen King of it all comes in. Because, of course, he's always associated with horror. And this is decidedly not that, although it has a couple of moments that lean in that direction a little bit. Like, and Mike Flanagan, that's his wheelhouse as well. So a couple moments that are not scary, but like lean a little bit more toward the thriller or like scary side of things. But it's extremely well done. And I think, like we said during the podcast, I think this would be a great movie for the entire family, not for little kids. They're not going to like this, but like teens and up, I think it would be something like everybody could watch together and probably really, really enjoy.
Yeah. If you have a teen that is, I want to say, a thinker or a mature minded teen, this would be like great for them. Like,
absolutely,
your theater kids, you're just kind of not necessarily your jock linear thinking kids.
Sure,
as I put more boxes around these guys, but
still, I mean, that's true though. Like, I mean, it's not for everyone, but it would provoke a lot of good discussion amongst the family, and especially about certain themes. And themes being, as you find out toward the end of the first act, that Chuck is a man who essentially is just dying.
Right.
And well, not even essentially, Chuck is dying, guys. This is like you're seeing kind of, I think, what the process of death is like told from the perspective of Stephen King.
Right.
And this is what really got me super into this movie, was thinking about what that end of life, those moments at the end of your life must feel like.
Right.
So as you move into the second act, which is the second act, either whichever direction you're going, this is the second act. You see Tom Hiddleston, who is Chuck, our main character in this film.
He's an adult Chuck.
Yeah, adult Chuck. Yeah, he's an investment banker, I think, something like that. And you see this.
Or no, he's an accountant, I think.
Or yeah, maybe
because of who we'll find later.
Yeah, he's a regular man living his life in town on a business trip. And it leads you to this joyous scene where I cannot remember exactly what this sequence is called, but a girl sets up her drums on the street to play the drums for people and make some money.
She's a busker.
A busker, that's it, yes. And this entire scene plays out with her setting up for the day. Chuck is on his way back to his hotel, walking through the streets. She sees him and is suddenly just inspired by this man. And she starts to play a beat that she thinks that belongs to this man. And all of a sudden, it leads to this very long sequence of him dancing. He's taken by the music, taken by this drummer and this musician. And something just comes over him. And he's like, right now is a moment to live my life. And I'm just going to dance.
Yep.
Yeah.
And at this point, like, they had this other character played by Annalise Basco.
Yeah.
Basso. Sorry, excuse me. Some of you would know her from like Captain Fantastic, the Viggo Mortensen. She has just been dumped via text and is just angry at the world, walking through this town square, and comes upon Chuck dancing. And just, well, I have to see this. And Chuck plucks her out of the crowd, and they both are dancing together now.
Yeah, because he can see she's into it. She's feeling it. Like what he's doing here is so infectious that she can't help but start to move a little bit too. And I think that's what grabs his eye. He's like, oh, this lady's into it. And they essentially just put on a show right here in the middle of the street for everyone.
And this sequence is long,
but
it does not feel like it. No. Like you're just, this could be like a 5 to 7 minute of just no dialogue dancing, I believe.
Absolutely.
And I'm here for it.
Yeah, no, I was absolutely here for it. And I mean, this is a movie where at the end of every act I cried. And this was not tears of necessarily sadness, but it's just, like I said in the podcast, tears of just living life and being human and being alive. Right. Because you understand in this second part where Chuck is headed, because you see at the end of the first act that he's dying. He's on his deathbed, essentially. Right. And this goes back into like probably like what I imagine is like being on your deathbed and playing back these moments of your life, or I'm not sure of another way to put it, but like you have to probably relive.
It's the idea of your life flashing before your eyes.
Yeah.
Like as you pass. And then, they do a great job of basically flashing through Tom Hiddleston of he's doing this almost exact dance movement that he sees his grandmother.
Yes, definitely
doing.
And this made me think so much. I think why this movie hit so much for me. If you watch the podcast, you'll know that I lost a partner 3 years ago, and he died of pancreatic cancer, and I was there for all of it. And in the hospital, I often wondered, very often, what is happening with him right now? Because there were many, many moments where he was not coherent, where you could tell something was going on for him that the rest of us were not privy to. And this just took me right back to that place, not in a sad way necessarily, but it just really just captured that moment for me. Cause I would think all the time he would like say things and talk. And like, sometimes he would think he was in Georgia and shit, cause he used to live there. And I think this movie captures all of that so well and presents nobody knows what it's like to be at the end of life and to relive these moments or go back through all of this stuff. But I think this movie presents a very compelling way that this could go down for someone, that you're reliving these moments where you see your grandmother in the kitchen and she loves rock music. She's an unconventional grandma, and she pulls you in and teaches you how to dance. And suddenly she's showing you musicals, which have informed what you're doing on the street now in front of this busker and all of that. And like kind of reliving these lovely, joyous moments in your life, as well as some honestly. So after this sequence, we get into young Chuck. And I would say nothing here really is not necessarily joyous, but it is the toughest.
It kind of leads to he's living with his grandparents because his parents were killed in a car accident. His grandparents are played amazingly by Mia Sara, who hasn't acted in over 10-15 years.
And you said she came out of retirement for this movie.
She came out of retirement for this because she, I think, really, she had like contacted Flanagan about how much she liked Midnight Mass.
Yeah.
And basically the two struck up a conversation, and he thought of her for this role. And I mean, she's absolutely gorgeous, even playing a grandmother.
Oh yes.
But she is so nurturing and so loving,
just so warm. And
yeah, it's like, central casting.
She's grandmotherly without being like the typical grandmotherly. You know what I mean? Like, and she's not like some old white-haired lady. She's like grandma, but like kind of a younger. And the kid is very young during this part of the film too, so it makes sense. He's in like junior high school at this time.
And then you have, this curmudgeon grandfather played by Mark Hamill.
Yeah, he's so great in this. I thought he was great.
And they live in this old Victorian house that, Chuck never really, like, he doesn't feel comfortable, but he does. But it's his home. Sure. They do everything to make it feel his home, but there's just something lingering.
Yeah, because he's lost his parents, and there's this tragedy in the air of it all. And Grandpa drinks a lot to deal with his problems, and Grandma is she's still very warm and loving, but there is still sort of this sensibility about her that is often watching over her husband because he drinks a lot, and you can feel that there's a lot of weight on her shoulders while she's trying to still be light for her grandson because of all this tragedy that is around them. And yeah, as you spend time in this house and him with his grandparents, you discover that there is a locked room upstairs. And you see, this is all imagery that you see throughout this entire movie, even from the first act in the teacher's house.
Yes.
This is, clearly, like, this is just a teacher that he happened to remember from school that somehow came to play a part in his end of life mind stuff, because this teacher lived in this house, had this locked room that was something that he always haunted him. And this is another mystery that's presented in this movie that gives this. I'm not sure of a better way to describe this as a drama that has like kind of thriller elements without like really being a thriller at all.
Right.
Yeah, it just has sort of this like thriller touch to it while still just being solidly very a drama.
like basically you're basically taking through the eyes of Chuck, and you have the same wonder of what's behind this door.
Yeah.
And
And
they give
anybody
them
would want to know that.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
47 and I would want to know.
Well,
Like,
they played up, the floor is unstable up there, so
Sure.
we're just for your safety, and it just kind of throughout his life of just oh boy, what about this door? What about this door? That type of thing.
yeah, well, one night Chuck is sitting with Grandpa. Like we said, Grandpa drinks a little bit. So Grandpa got a little bit loose-lipped one night while talking about this space that Chuck was so interested in, and kind of alludes to the fact that by going into that space, there were ghosts, and that maybe he saw some things that disturbed him or unsettled him in a way
Mhm.
about some of the people in the town that they live in.
Right.
And this is still left quite a mystery. And you learn during all this time, because of his love of dance with Grandma and what she's
Mhm.
instilled in him, that he's come to start dancing at school. He's one of the 3 boys who joins this like after school dance class.
Oh, man,
I felt
listen, I felt this too, because like I did even though I did sports, I also did a little bit of theater as well.
Sure.
And it was, any male who's in theater, it's usually you,
Sure.
and it's a 10-to-1 ratio.
Yeah, exactly.
Usually.
But it's so sweet because you find out through all of this, it's all not for nothing. Like you find out this is actually how he met his wife,
Right.
who is by his side on his deathbed today, essentially. And you see how they came to fall in love, even
Well,
at this young age.
They're the best 2 dancers in the
Yeah.
class, and there's this great character of the gym teacher
Mhm.
who is basically like the go and get him Chuck, like the confidence builder for him,
Absolutely.
of just like,
Well, she sees promise.
yeah, and it's like, well, all I want to do is dance with this girl who's the best dancer,
Sure.
and then, well, teacher keeps putting me with the weaker people so I can
Mhm.
make them better and type of stuff.
Well, you have to see her perspective too. Like she's probably
100%.
like, yeah,
Yeah.
she's like dealing with kids all the time who are just kind of whatever, but she actually loves this and like wants to like make it a better thing. So I see like her motivations in all of this and how she's wanting to get the good kids to like help the other kids and stuff. But it's just a very sweet, a very wholesome. I mean, honestly, it's wholesome.
Listen, I think when I was trying to explain this is the feeling that I got watching Stand By Me when they were telling the story around the campfire, which was yes, it's an absolute wholesome, but like they're telling a story about a guy who's puking on everybody.
Yeah, right.
But it's
Exactly.
still wholesome.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
and there is this kind of like old school sediment and feeling to this of just the idyllic childhood.
For sure.
Where like, yeah, he's gone through some seriously bad stuff, but he's still enjoying life.
Of course. And I think that's really important. Like, I mean, I think it's a huge, important message that
Mhm.
he goes through life, but he doesn't let it end his life necessarily. Like, he's resilient. You see that he moves on. There's trauma, of course,
Mhm.
but it felt very realistic to me.
Oh, and the build up to the dance of basically like the girl that is the best dancer, she is in a relationship with another gentleman.
And we're talking like junior high kids. So these
Right.
relationships are as serious as that gets for
Right.
the most part.
And you can tell that Chuck is just there. He's there in his powder blue tuxedo, his little tiny powder blue
Yep.
tuxedo, just standing on the edges. And she comes up and asks him to dance.
Mhm. And you see this heartbreaking scene before this happens where he is talking to his grandfather,
yes.
who
Yeah.
he's a financial guy. I don't know exactly what he did, but he like
He did
did
the
the
books.
finances.
Yeah, he's the
Yeah.
accountant for everybody in town.
Yeah, basically that. And he knows that young Chuck likes to dance and that
Mhm.
he wants to pursue dance. And he essentially just sort of, I wouldn't say he berates it. And I do think Grandpa is realistic in a lot of ways, that it's
Mhm.
not a career path that you choose if you want guaranteed success. It's just not.
Right.
Any kind of arts is not a guaranteed success for sure. But it's still heartbreaking to watch him just so matter of factly let Chuck know that this is just not the way forward for him, that numbers don't lie, finance is going to be there. This is the type of job you should want and work toward. And Chuck lets that really affect him as he goes into this dance, because before this, they wanted to go in and tear the roof off the place. These are the two best dancers at school, and they want to show everybody how it's done.
Right.
And he starts to second guess himself as he goes into this dance. And it's so sad to see, because he does feel dejected. He's like making up, his leg hurts and all of this stuff. But he wants to do this. He wants to dance for sure. And finally, luckily, thank God, she does get him to dance. The teacher, really more specifically, gets him to finally let loose and dance. And they do indeed tear the roof off the place.
But it is such a good speech of just like, it's one of those things,
It's the kind of teacher you wish every teacher was.
Everybody has someone like that in their life. It's the go get them. It's like, what are you doing here? Like, it's the guardian angel on your shoulder when it's just like, okay, it's time to jump.
Absolutely. And I mean, most teachers, or teachers who care, I should say, see the potential in their students and know which ones to put probably a little bit more nurturing and effort into, because she sees the potential that they have, and she knows Chuck has this potential. And I mean, I think there is something very sad or melancholy about the fact that he does end up working a job in finance, like for a bank and stuff, because it does sort of show you that he gave in to that side of things, when it's clear that while he may not technically be the best dancer in the whole entire world, the passion for it is real. And when you see him dance in that middle section, you feel that passion and that love for dance.
Well, they do provide later we find out there's a reason why he does go into finance and stuff like that. And it's the kid they cast for young Chuck it's hilarious, because he looks exactly like they casted middle-aged Chuck or younger Chuck is Jacob Tremblay.
Yes.
Fan of the show.
Yeah, he's like teen Chuck.
Teen Chuck. And
friend of the show, Jacob Tremblay.
The kid they get for like initial young dancer, Benjamin Pyjak, looks exactly like Tremblay when he was young.
He does.
And I think was it Cody Flanagan for even the youngest Chuck?
Yeah.
Which is the kid of the director. They tear it up on the dance floor. It is so true to middle school, where he is very short and she is very tall.
Oh yeah, I thought that was so funny too, because she's
they give him lifts. But he gets like lifts at some point where it's like
he gets dance shoes that make him a little bit taller, and that boosts his confidence and stuff, though, and it helps him. And it's so cute, and it's a funny scene because the shoes don't quite fit. They're secondhand shoes, and he's like stuffing them with paper to get them just to feel just right, so he can like dance and tear it up.
And I guess this kind of takes us to the third act, which is, it ties it all together. It's funny for a movie that is basically about death and how we deal with it and see it, and whether it is
and what you might experience during it.
Yeah, like it's so lighthearted, and it's so. And you know what? They did a great job picking Nick Offerman as the narrator.
He was a great narrator.
Who is has a wonderful voice, but he's a comedic actor. So you always kind of associate him with comedy. You don't really feel this as a tragedy. And, he's the one.
Much of the narration really is quite funny. Like, just the delivery of it and all of that. But like in the third act, or the ending of this, like we've been presented with mysteries throughout this movie. What's behind the locked door? What's going on? And suddenly we do get to find that out, and you get a sense of what was happening behind that locked door anyway. But essentially, young Chuck unlocks the door after his grandfather passes away. He loses his grandmother tragically, and then not long after grandfather passes away. So he's got the keys to the house. He's waiting on people to come and stay with him, essentially. And wait, did his parents pass away? They did die, right?
Yeah, they were in a car accident. That's why he was with his grandparents. So when
who was coming at the end?
What do you mean?
Who were the adults that he was
aunt and uncle. From Omaha or from
Yeah.
far away.
And they had things to tie up, which is very an adult thing. Like you can't just like pick up and necessarily leave all the time.
Yep.
But yeah, while he's in this house by himself, he has the keys to this room that's always been forbidden and off limits. And of course, he enters it, and you see exactly kind of what his grandfather was all about here, because in true Stephen King style, there is like a slightly supernatural element to this movie, and he sees his own death.
Right.
And I think what's interesting about this is that it is so ambiguous in a lot of ways, because it's not even exactly clear like the age that he is, because he is so sick in this vision,
right,
that you can't tell when this is coming. And it's kind of heartbreaking, I think, still to know that, knowing that that's coming, that you wouldn't, I don't know, that you wouldn't, I guess, pursue the things that you love. One of the big lessons of this movie is to live your life and make like the fullest of your life as you possibly can. And Chuck didn't necessarily do that.
No, I think it was more kind of like he saw his life with hhis wife. And I'm trying to remember. I want to say it's not just him in like a hospital bed. I want to say he kind of saw his. I don't know if the wife was there or not.
No, I don't think in the vision
In
it
the
was. I
vision.
think it was just him sick, like, you know.
Okay. And basically, we find out that it's not just like your own death. You also see the future of others' deaths as well, which was what was haunting his grandfather. They kind of alluded to an episode where a kid was killed by a car accident or a truck or by something, and basically it set him off because he had seen it.
For sure. And you get, I mean, it gives a lot of character and motivation to the grandfather, because even though he's a heavy drinker, he's not a bad person.
No,
I think he just has a lot on his shoulders, a lot on his plate, and a lot that he's dealing with from a mental perspective, and he chooses to numb that a little bit with drinking. But he's certainly not abusive or anything like that. He has some tough moments with Chuck, but again, I think they are very realistic, because he's just a realist, and he's saying, don't count on dance as like your money making career, homie. Like
Chuck loses his grandmother to, she just passes out and dies in a convenience store. And then the grandfather passes of a heart attack, and it's
tragic.
It is so tragic, and it is the idea of like the knowing that it's coming.
It's tragic and sad, but it's not a downer.
No,
that's the distinction. Like, I mean, this has never felt downbeat to me.
Correct.
It's dealing with things that are just a part of life and a part of normal everyday life. We live, we're going to die. Everyone around us is going to die. And that is just taken as like a normal thing here. And I said in the podcast, I thought this movie was manipulative. And I do think it is. Like, it's emotionally manipulating you. But it's not emotionally manipulating you in a way to like make you excessively sad. It's just pulling at all of these different emotions inside of you, and knowingly so, to make you feel things, good, bad, all of that. And the overall feeling that I left this movie was a feeling of good, of positive.
And that's what the filmmaker's job is to do, is to pull away all the bullshit and all the stuff that we fill our every day to day with. And listen, message received.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, this was not like, okay, I'm going to stare at my phone, or you hear the rumors of the Netflix thing of like, we want you to create movies that people can play on their phone as they watch. And this is one of those ones of just, I think I actually did. I texted the group while I was in it saying, wow.
Yeah, absolutely. And this was on my radar. And then when Coach sent the thing just saying, I saw this movie, I'm not sure what I just saw, but I know that I felt a lot of things. I was like, I know I have to go see this.
Still trying. Yeah, I will try and pull up the exact thing I said to the group.
Yeah, I can definitely screenshot that.
Oh, man.
But yeah, this is a must see, in my opinion, guys. I said it on the show the other night. This is my favorite movie of the year so far. I think that it has been. This took away the audience award at TIFF the Toronto International Film Festival last
Mhm.
year.
Yep.
It didn't have distribution yet, and historically, I think for the last like 12 years, the film that takes that award at TIFF goes on to get a Best Picture nomination. So that just sort of like piqued my interest a little bit there. Plus, Mike Flanagan, I'm a huge fan of, and Stephen King. I think that it's pretty known for the most part that his stories aren't always adapted well to
Mhm.
film. Mike Flanagan, though, has kind of arisen as like a director who gets it, and
Yes.
his adaptations are probably, well, they're definitely among the very best like King adaptations. So I felt like I was in good hands with this one. But yeah, it's just a must see. And even if you're not exactly like a drama loving person, I think the mysterious elements in this and all of this like wonder that it creates and the shit that it makes you think about, and especially like what going through the end of your life might feel like, is just, it's so fascinating, and it just makes you want to immediately like talk to someone about it.
So what I wrote to the group, just now leaving Life of Chuck, and I'm not sure what I just watched. I know I cried. I have an increased sense of wonder, and 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 am thinking of time and space.
Yeah,
Wow,
and
what a
that's a great,
pretentious ass I am.
no, that's a great description of it. I mean, that's exactly the kind of shit this makes you think about. And it's just so, but it's also palatable. That sounds
Well,
heady, kind of, but it's very palatable and very easy to digest and pleasant.
there's things in this movie that would honestly make me want to turn it off if it's in another movie, but it just works. There is a 5 to 8 minute conversation between two characters on the phone in the
Mhm.
beginning, and it's
About the calendar.
like all they're doing is just talking on the
Yeah.
phone, and I'm like, I am intrigued. I want to know where
Yeah.
this is going. Any other movie, I'm like, get off the phone. Get
Well,
off
it's
the
so interesting because at that point they've
phone.
created such a sense of mystery with everything that's going on, that like the questions that they're asking are
You're
things you would
yearning.
actually
Yes.
like ask people and shit. They're like, do you think divorce rates are gonna like go up or down, or do you think people are gonna get back with people that they loved
Mhm.
before to like find comfort in this like seemingly like end of the world scenario and stuff? And it's all just so valid and so real in what people would think about during this time. And especially if it's like a slow end, the way
Well,
this
yeah.
is presented. You know
Well,
what I
and
mean?
there's the great speech by Matthew Lillard, which
Oh,
I didn't expect, Shaggy from Scooby Doo to come in and just break me as a human being.
yeah, for sure. Because I saw him on screen, and honestly, I got a little bit worried for a second because he has sort of a shtick in a way,
Sure.
but he was incredible here. He's like a neighbor who's like lives by the teacher essentially, and
Mhm.
he just like breaks into this like very like philosophical conversation about this like imminent end of the world.
Mhm.
But it just hits so hard because it's so real and it's so emotional, and he pulls it off 100% in every
Yes.
way. I was like, this Matthew Lillard, you better get it, homie. That was so good.
Oh man.
So I'm
Yeah.
assuming this is a like a 100% see it at all costs recommendation from you.
It is, if I don't know you.
Yeah,
If I know you,
yeah, it might have more
I
nuance.
I'm treading a little like within my circle of friends, within my like I knew I could say, Dad, you have to see it. You have
Sure.
to see this. And they and instantly text me like, absolutely, like it's one of those um just going through some of my dad's stuff that when they went through the divorces, I have this letter he wrote to Stephen King,
Mhm.
and it's
Oh
like
wow.
it's one of those I keep putting it off, but it's like I'm going to take a picture of it. I want to send it to him via Twitter and just be
Heck
like,
yeah.
because my dad's a huge reader, so
Okay.
and he's a big fan of Stephen King. So I was like, yeah, you got to check this out. So he's on some people in my circles. Yeah, I'm not gonna necessarily because I
Sure.
know they're not gonna. But I know the people that I do pick to send to this
Yeah.
will, it'll be a
Definitely.
great conversation piece.
Yeah, but I think even like he said, even if you don't know someone necessarily, I think this is a mostly fairly safe recommendation for people.
Yes.
It's a pleasant experience, and something I think will stick with you. It's stuck with me since I saw it for sure. I went to see this with my partner Chris, and I think he knew maybe a little bit more about it than I did going in. But as soon as the credits rolled, he turned to me and was like, I have to go find this short story and read it immediately.
Mhm.
And that's just the kind of feeling that it leaves you with, is just like, wow. I felt like I watched something special. And I know now that I never look at reviews. I've said this 100 times before I go into something. But now that I've watched reviews or seen reviews about this after the fact, I'm kind of surprised at some of the negativity toward this movie, because but that, I mean, it just goes another thing to go to show how art is so subjective, and what your personal experience can do to play into what you take away from a film or any media for that matter.
Yeah, I thought the critics would like it too.
They do for the most part. It's a mostly positive thing.
Yeah, I guess it's the haters are yeah, I don't know. Like I think a lot of the people that are hating this, they just lack a sense of wonder.
Yeah, and I think too, like I said, I think personal experience is going to play a lot in this. I think because I had so much personal experience in my life that I sort of tied into this movie that made me think these were things that I thought about before, that really hit with me, and that's why it hit so hard. But even without that, I think it's well made. It looks great. It's entertaining for sure. It's certainly not a slog to get through. It breezed by. When it was over, I was like, God, that felt so quick. Like it just was such a fast moving experience.
And quite frankly, with Flanagan's work, I'm surprised that it wasn't something that was gobbled up by Netflix.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? And
I'm glad it wasn't.
I am glad it wasn't too. However, I think it would actually, or I'm assuming it will go to Netflix when it goes streaming. But I think this might have secondary legs.
Yeah, I definitely think that's the case too. And while I'm always a proponent of the theater, go to the theater
100%.
as much as you can. This is a movie that's going to play great at home. It's not a big spectacle of like visual effects or anything like that. It's a fairly quiet drama with some mysterious elements to it. And this was picked up by Neon, which I thought was very interesting because they're sort of like A24 and Neon are like the two studios I kind of respect the most right now.
Yes.
Films that they acquire and put out are they're just a bit off the beaten path for the most part, a little outside the norm. And I appreciate that. I watch a lot of movies, so you do get tired of the same things over and over again. But I still, in saying that, this is a very palatable movie, certainly not weird or like too arty or any of that kind of stuff. It's very easy to digest and takes so much away from.
This is going to be like the college kid that comes home and watches it with their family, and everybody cries, or someone sees, so a college kid sees it, or a late teen, let's say early 20s season. Oh, I gotta watch it with my family, or I gotta show it to my family type thing.
And I think you said too on the show that like this is the kind of thing like in college you would like smoke some weed, watch this movie, and then talk about it for like 3 hours after that. Like it's just like one of those experiences that you want to talk about and experience. And
did the room know what was going to happen, or did you subconsciously know?
Okay, right.
In your own mind, and the room just showed you what you knew. It's like
all those deep college conversations, guys.
If a snake were to wear pants, how many holes would there be? Like, if a dog, like, do they need 4 holes or 2?
Yeah, right. Definitely.
Is a hot dog a sandwich?
This is that in the most positive possible way, I would say. Is there anything else you want to say about this before we get out of here?
I'm editing. It's not a sandwich; it's a taco.
Okay. Okay. See, that's interesting. I don't know, because I always think of a taco as having to have a hard shell, so I don't know. Don't present me with these existential crises right
now. Let's not talk about death. Let's talk about hot dogs.
Okay,
now, listen. Please go ahead and see this. Please encourage other people to go see this. Please encourage people to see us on Scene Invaders podcast channel on YouTube.
Absolutely. And anywhere you get your audio podcast, these episodes just go up on YouTube, but our podcast every week that we shoot on Wednesdays goes up audio wise, Spotify, Apple, any of that shit. And yeah, we love doing this, man. We love talking about this stuff. And we're trying to diversify our content with stuff like this. And we have Chad and Carly's Creepy Corner, and the guys have done shows on The Last of Us and all of that. So
yeah, I think we're gonna do Severance season 3. We'll see what happens. Not Severance, Shrinking.
Oh, okay. Shrinking season 3. Hell yeah, dude. No, that's what all this is about, man. We appreciate anyone who comes back and listens or watches. And tell your friends if you love movies, want recommendations for mostly movies, but some TV shows and stuff too, man. That's what we're here for. And we tend to now we've gotten into this groove where we're having a special topic every week. And it's been fun. It's been fun because we're making slides and talking about just more things that we can recommend to you, and like kind of it shows you so much our taste in movies and things, and it's taught me so much about like you guys in all of this process.
Yes, the interactions is we're slowly peeling back a layer of the onion each week.
Oh my god, definitely every week is a new adventure, guys, for real. But thank you for coming back, thank you for joining us for this, and go see The Life of Chuck for real.